Okay, let's preview round 2 of the 2025 NRL season. The action this weekend starts with the Knights Dolphins up in Newcastle. And I think these two sides are evenly matched. Dolphins coming off a narrow loss, Knights coming off a narrow win. I think this is a very even contest. We could potentially see the first golden point of the season, in my opinion. I think both these sides are around the bottom of the top 8. They're both mid-table sides. I think the Knights, if they can get a win, I think that's a good way to start their season, get some momentum going, because the Knights are a confidence team and Adam O'Brien is a coach under pressure. So if they can get a couple of wins to start the season, that could build some momentum for them. The Dolphins, much more is expected now in their third year. They are now expected to take that next step into the top 8. I think this could be one of, if not the only, match-up in round 2 that could potentially be a golden point match-up. I think this could go right down to the wire. Very hard to pick a winner in this one because they both came off very close matches. One a close win, one a close loss. There's not a lot to pick between them. The Warriors are at home against the Sea Eagles. The Warriors were dreadful against Canberra and Vegas. The Sea Eagles ripped the Cowboys to pieces. I have concerns about the Warriors. If they play the same way they played against the Raiders, this could be a very, very long afternoon at home. Yes, they got that home advantage, and they've got they are well supported at home. They regularly sell out, but the Sea Eagles, the way they played against the Cowboys was terrifying to watch. The ease at which they just made line breaks and just ripped the Cowboys to pieces. I do worry about the Warriors in this one. Coming off the back of a heavy defeat to Canberra, they're going in against the Sea Eagles side where all three Travojeviches were, seamlessly into play, driving the side forward. Cherry Evans looks like he's 10 years younger than he actually is. I'm worried for the Warriors. They need to bounce back and have some fight back. Where I'm really concerned is defensively they were exposed, but in attack they were so clunky and it was like they had never played with each other before. A lot of individual performances, they looked really just second best to everything. They were slow in the play, the ball. They just couldn't get any momentum going. And I think the Sea Eagles will have a field day there. I'm going for a Sea Eagles win, and I think it could be a heavy defeat for the Warriors. The Panthers playing the Roosters. Now, they are playing at Bankwest, CommBank Stadium as it's now known, while Panther Stadium is being rebuilt against the Roosters. I think the Panthers are, much like the Sea Eagles, are heavily favoured in this one. I'm really concerned about the Roosters after that 50-point drubbing by the Broncos. They looked terrible. They were all over the place defensively, and you could see they were lacking some confidence and leadership. I think the Roosters could really fall back this season. I think that squad turnover, losing all that experience at the end of last season, I think has definitely hurt them. They have a lot of injuries as well. They had a very inexperienced bench against the Broncos. I think the Panthers are going to have far too much. Even though the Panthers aren't actually at home, they're still the home team. CommBank Stadium is a good playing surface. It's a good atmosphere. I do fear for the Roosters in this one. The Panthers, 4-time defending premiers. They were challenged by the Sharks and they stood up to that challenge. While not playing at their best, they overcame Cronulla while missing a few key players. I think this is going to be a long day for the Roosters. Very long day for the Roosters. The Dragons versus the Bunnies. It's another Wayne Bennett derby because he obviously won a premiership with the Dragons way back when. I think this will be a close game. There's a lot of people saying that the Dragons aren't going to do much this year. They're going to be in the bottom 8 again, potentially wooden spoonists. I think they're better than that. They showed some good fight against the Bulldogs in trying to come back from behind. They obviously couldn't do it. They're at home. The Bunnies, while they had a narrow win over the Dolphins, I think the Dragons are going to be a stiff test. There were certain aspects of the Dragons' play that wasn't great. I will admit that. They look better down their left than down their right, so it's going to be interesting how they spread the ball. But they were up for the physical contest in the last round. The Bunnies coming off a narrow win. Okay, poor season last year. That's going to be a confidence booster. They were terrible last year. They're still missing some players through injury. This is going to be a fun battle. I think it'll be a close game. I think Depending on weather conditions as well, the Dragons are at home. Depending on weather conditions, that could have an impact on it as well. The Bunnies aren't at full strength. The Dragons, they've got a lot of new faces in there. Gutherson, Damien Cook. That's going to be interesting to see how he matches up against his former team. There's a lot of subplots here, but I think the Rabbitohs still have some way to improve to make the top 8. I think the Dragons, are the better team on paper, but we shall see what happens. Both sides missed the top 8 last year, and it's only round 2. The Cowboys Sharks, I think the Sharks are favourites. The Cowboys got mauled by the Sea Eagles. And the way the Sharks did actually play against the Panthers, they pushed them all the way. Okay, they're still not quite a top 2 side, but they are a top 4 side. The Cowboys, I think, are in trouble. While the Cowboys are at home, I think the Sharks, having that week off, like this weekend just gone, having had that Vegas experience, they can get that Vegas boost. What is interesting is the two sides that lost in Vegas last year missed the top 8. I don't think the Sharks are going to miss the top 8, personally. They played quite well against Penrith. I have concerns about the Cowboys coming off that bad defeat. That's going to be knocking their confidence. There needs to be a response. I will expect a response from the Cowboys. But they just... defensively, they got very exposed in the wide channels. And the Sharks have some very, very talented, pacey outside backs. So look for Cronulla to potentially, instead of bashing them up the middle, spread the ball wide and stretch that Cowboys defence, because numbering up, they did not look confident defensively in the outside backs. They looked very weak there. Raiders at home against Brisbane. This will be a true test to see where both sides actually are after two very dominant wins, both for the Raiders and the Broncos. The Raiders having that unofficial bye this weekend by playing in Vegas. It's all about momentum, and a lot of people have already written the Raiders off this season because they're a team in transition and they've got a lot of young players. Broncos obviously had that thumping win over the Sydney Roosters. Was it that the Roosters were that bad or the Broncos were that good, or was it a mixture of the two? This would be a good test to see where both teams are at, both the Raiders and the Broncos. One town clubs, one club town, should I say, in a sense. The Raiders at home will be a tough challenge. They looked fit. They looked quick. They had a good scramble, good defensive energy. The Broncos, again, they looked fit. They looked quick, good defensive energy. The battle of the forward packs will go a long way to decide this game. I think the Broncos have potentially the more talented outside backs, but in saying that, the Raiders look quick on the outside backs as well. So this could be quite a close game, I actually think. This will be a good litmus test to see how well both sides have done in the pre-season. The Broncos had a very, very good pre-season. And it's also a litmus test to see actually if those wins in round one are the real deal, or are they just one-off games, and then I'll be back to reality with these two sides that missed the top 8 last year. The Spoon Bowl from last year, the Eels-Tigers. I think the Tigers are in a better position to win this one than the Eels. The Eels got absolutely hammered by the Storm. They were all over the place. They looked dreadful. Although they did have some fight back in the second half, the damage was done. The Tigers, I think, are in a better position now than what they were 12 months ago and at the end of last season. I actually think the Tigers might win this one. I think we could have an on-paper upset. I think that the battering the Eels took earlier today, I think, knocked a lot of stuffing out of them. You would expect a response. The Tigers, that narrow defeat to the Knights will have hurt. They were from a winning position. But they've added well, and there's a lot of feel good this off season with the playing squad at the Tigers. Obviously, the boardroom's a mess, but on the field and with the playing squad, I think the Tigers are in a much better position with another full pre-season with Benji Marshall than what they were. I think the Tigers are going to win this one. I really do. I think the Eels are vulnerable to another flogging. Then we have the Bulldogs-Titans. Now, the Titans are coming off the bye. This is their first match of the season, so we haven't actually seen them yet. Bulldogs, they got some fight about them. This is a Des Hasler derby, because obviously his time with the Bulldogs and now a head coach of the Titans. This could be a fun game. The Titans will be fresh. The Bulldogs, they've got a lot of energy about them. I think it's going to be interesting to see who wins that forward dominance, because the Bulldogs had a great kick chase, high energy. The Titans, it's their first game. They're away from home. Second season of Des Hasler. Let's see how it plays out. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think the Bulldogs are favourites because they were a top 8 side last year and the Titans weren't. I think the pressure's on the Bulldogs to back it up the second week in a row. They've only won 3 out of 13 first round games in the last decade and a bit. To back it up in round 2 is going to be interesting to see if they are the real deal. The Titans, I think the pressure's on the Bulldogs in this one. I really do. I think the Titans are one of those sides that they're going to be unpredictable. Look at their halves combinations. You've got Campbell in there, you've got AJ Brimson in there. Foran's still a member of this side. So it's going to be interesting to see the halves combination they put out. Are they going to be running the ball a lot? Are they going to be kicking the ball a lot? I think they're going to be more of a running halves combination, which may suit the Bulldogs, having halves run at them. That physical contest. Their two halves, AJ Brimson and Campbell, aren't the biggest, so that's going to be a physical battle. And if they are going to run a lot, they're going to get clobbered a lot. And with the way the Bulldogs defend with energy, that's going to be interesting. So the halves battle is going to be interesting. The Bulldogs had a great kick game over the Dragons. They peppered the Dragons' right-hand side, really targeted their weaker winger. That's going to be an interesting battle. Really is. And the Melbourne Storm have the bye. They're coming off that massive win over Parramatta. First time ever in a first round, two sides have lost or conceded 50 points. It's never happened before. So there's that as well. So round 1's made some history. So there we go. There's the round 2 preview. Place your thoughts in the comments section below. Now, a lot can happen between now and the weekend. Players could get injured in training, go down with sickness. There's players facing the judiciary who may, try to contest the charges. There could be some suspensions. So anything can happen between now, the preview, and match day weekend starting on the Thursday through to the Sunday. Anything can happen within the next 4 days. But for me, for now, thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below, and I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.